Hello, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about Nancy Drew. I just read my very first Nancy Drew book. I first heard about Nancy Drew when I was a little girl. My mom grew up very poor and her family could not afford to buy her books. She probably got a couple books maybe, but she kept this book, which was a Nancy Drew book. So I have the 3 books that she had from growing up, and I was not planning on ever reading this book because it's an older book and I didn't want to hurt it. But my friend Glenn asked if I wanted to do a buddy read on the first Nancy Drew book, and I said yes. And he did a little bit of investigating on the Nancy Drew series and found out that in, I think it was 1959 or 1960, they, publishing companies or whatever, had decided that they wanted to change the Nancy Drew books and make Nancy Drew a little bit less independent and a little bit more friendly to men, a little bit less likely to question men. So they changed the books. They edited them and made them 20 chapters instead of 25. The original format of the books was 25 chapters. And when he read this, he wanted to let me know. He felt that it would be a good idea to read the unedited version of the books, and I agreed 100%. So I went out and found a version that was the original format, and I did find out that that is how you know that it's the original format of Nancy Drew books, is it's 25 chapters long. Because of that, I've now decided that I do want to read my mom's original book that she gave me, because this one is 25 chapters long. This is the one that I got. The cover's been laminated. And here's what the actual book looks like naked. And here's what it looks like inside the book. It's very pretty. I also wanted to talk to you about the author, Carolyn Keene. I did discover when I was trying to find out about the 20 verse 25 chapter books that Carolyn Keene does not actually exist. It's a pen name, and I wanted to know who the actual author was, because in this library I have, up above my head here on the wall, I have a canvas of a canvas print of a photo of Agatha Christie, and I thought, oh, you know, it'd be kind of cool to get a canvas print of Carolyn Keene. I mean, it sounds like a great idea, except she didn't exist, and Carolyn Keene is actually quite a few different women. I've got some notes here. I printed out an article. It's called The Secret Syndicate Behind Nancy Drew by Kara Strickland, and it's from 2018. I'll put the link down in the description box if you want to read the article. There was a very rich man that owned a children's publishing company, and his name was Edward Stratmeyer. And in the 1920s, he came up with the idea of Nancy Drew. He hired a lady named Mildred Wirt to write the first Nancy Drew book, which is the one that I just read. Now, he did not live to see Nancy become a worldwide phenomenon. He died 12 days after she was first published, leaving his 2 daughters in a predicament. Should they sell the company or run it themselves? And this was at the very beginning of the Depression. His daughters were Edna and Harriet. And Harriet is one of the other women who wrote quite a few of the Nancy Drew books. There ended up being, I think the article says that there was quite a few women who ended up writing the books. So there isn't 1 or even 2 people that wrote Nancy Drew books, sadly. So there's just all kinds of weird information behind the Nancy Drew series. So what did I think of this first book? This was a very wholesome, quaint book. It's very charming. It's a very fast-paced read. I did feel like I was there with Nancy while reading it. It kind of feels, in a way, like reading Sweet Valley High books, just from an older era. It's interesting to step back into a historical period. So this book is about a 16-year-old girl named Nancy Drew who loves to solve mysteries. She is a sleuth. She thinks of herself as a detective, and she wants to solve things herself. There's a guy named Hosea Crawley who passed away and has a will that is missing. There's supposedly 2 wills that he wrote, and the only will that is known to exist leaves all of his money to the Tophams. And the Tophams are a family that they're greedy and they're not very nice. And Nancy doesn't like them, so she decides that she's going to try to find his will. Don't you hate it when people seem to just always get their way, to always get what they want, to never have people question them or say no to them? Well, that's how Nancy feels about the Topham's daughters, Isabel and Ada. That's how she feels about them. They're just these rude, obnoxious girls that always get their way. They kind of reminded me of the stepsisters in Cinderella. Nancy meets these 2 girls, Allie and Grace. Both of their parents have passed away, and they're trying to survive on this farm by themselves. And she really wants to help them. And she finds out that they knew Hosea, and they might be in this will. They think they are, because he told them that they're in the will that he wrote after the one that left everything to the Tophams. And so this really makes her want to find the will to help these girls out. One thing about Nancy is she really wants to help those who are less fortunate than her, which I really do like that about her. And she tries to help them in a way that doesn't make them feel bad. So instead of just saying, you know, here's some money, she might say, oh, you make dresses? I need a new dress. Could you make me one? I'd love to pay you to make me a dress, or that kind of thing. So she's got this wonderful way of helping people out without making them feel bad. I wish more people had that quality. Nancy is very mature and stubborn and very gutsy. She does not think twice of stepping into situations and trying to find things out. She's very independent. And one thing about this book, the author does not really go very deep into anyone's personalities or their feelings or their thoughts. There's not a lot of description in the sense of what things look like or sound like or feel like or smell like. And I'm a real big description person, so I kind of felt like it was lacking in that way. I really like to know a lot of details about a person's personality and what kind of the content of their character and that kind of stuff. And I didn't really feel like there was a whole lot of that. I did get a little bit with Nancy, but not a whole lot. I mean, just whether or not it was kind of a, are they good or are they bad? Like, you remember as kids, we would play cops and robbers. It was kind of like that, like good or bad. And it kind of had this rich people are bad, poor people are good thing. And, well, that's not always true, right? I really liked the relationship that Nancy has with her dad. I did find it kind of funny that she looks at rich people as not being very nice people, when yet she herself appears to be rich. I mean, she drives a roadster. What teenager gets a brand new car? I didn't get one, did you? Right? And people have a lot more money now, I think, than the typical household did back then. On top of it, um, I mean, her dad's a lawyer. You know, like she tends to really have a lot of money in her pocket at all times. Um, so I think it's funny that she looks down on rich people so much when she appears to be one. It was very interesting. Now, I do think, looking at the time frame that this book was written, it was probably like most movies of that era, and the music of that era meant as a way to escape reality, a way to still feel some happiness in a time when everything was so depressing and down. And I've also thought it was funny that when she seems to be a really nice person, but when she doesn't like someone, she can be very heartless towards them. Which, I mean, I'm not saying I can't be, but I just thought that was kind of amusing. I thought the book was really good. I really enjoyed it. I think most people would enjoy it. The storyline was really lacking for me. It was just very simple. There wasn't a whole lot to it. Now, I tried to keep in mind that it was a mid-grade storyline. I thought it was a YA book, but looking into it, this is actually a mid-grade series. So I give this book a 4-star rating. I think some of the other books in this series will probably get a 5-star rating out of me, and other ones might get a 2 or 3, depending on which book it is. Let me know down in the comments if you've read any of the Nancy Drew books and what you think of them. I'd love to hear your input. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or night. Happy reading. Bye.